Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line. Friend
Yes,
to the
indeed.
room, DL Hughley. Welcome, sir.
Hey, man, I'm glad y'all still made it. I'm glad y'all all right.
We all right, right?
We haven't left the house. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing. I go to work and I come back. So, because we're doing the TV show and the radio show. So, I'm the only dude I know that would build a set during the middle of a coronavirus. But, yeah, we go to work every day. And now, of course, even though I work with my daughter, I haven't hugged her in 3 months. But, you know, other than that, everything. No.
What precautions do you
no
take?
chances.
You put a mask on?
Yeah, a mask, gloves, the whole thing. Except when I'm broadcasting, then I don't. But other than that, or when we're shooting, other than that, we just kind of. I think I'm really sad because even though you see the deaths going up, this drive to get, and I understand it because you ultimately your answer can't just be everybody stay home, but it's just sad that the fact that it's the people who are dying that the American population are not uncomfortable with. Old people, black people,
and
brown
black people,
poor people. Yeah, they don't. I mean, you know what? The one thing we'll never run out of is poor black people or poor brown people. So I figure they figure we're expendable.
You know, it's crazy, deal. We had the same thought because I said that I saw you post this on Instagram, and it literally, like, I might have posted it seconds after, but I said, you know, America's economy is an omelet, and poor people and black people and brown people are eggs, and they don't mind breaking a few eggs to make that goddamn omelet.
The one thing they'll never run out of is poor black and brown people. That's the one thing we have. And old people, like if you look at who's coming down with the disease, it's primarily people in prison, people who work in meat packing plants or in close proximity, old people, and black and brown people. And America's like, man, why should I not have a mall open? Because the undesirable, the people that we have to figure out where to warehouse are dying. And I think it's just, it's really America's real life a nature selection of the purge to America.
DL, who do you trust and who do you listen to when it comes to what's going on during this pandemic? Because I was watching your show and I was watching you talk about Dr. Fauci and talk about Donald Trump, and basically Dr. Fauci is a co-defendant, right, for Donald Trump because he's not stepping in. Mm-hmm.
He has to be. Ultimately, you know the kind of people who listen to that man. And he needs to be challenged directly. And I think when a man like that tells you well, first off, I didn't mind him saying, you know, them ingesting disinfectants because the Trump bleach is perfect for the Trump people, the Trump supporters, because it works great on whites and it's hell on color. So it's you know, I understand that. But when that man, when he wasn't in there when he made that particular statement, but look at all the statements that took flight that he later on went on to other avenues and then tried to correct, as opposed to doing it right there. The oath he took was not to an administration. The oath he took was to do no harm. And he does harm when he sits there and he lets those things happen. And what he wanted to avoid was him being silenced, and he has been. And I think it's just cowardice. I think you're a doctor. Anytime somebody... What happened to the other disease that he touted? The other drug that he touted. If people
hydroxychloroquine or whatever that should call
Hydroxychloroquine.
If you spend the last few weeks listening to the president, look how many people would be dead. Like literally just listening to him. So you can't be the greatest nation in the world when you can't listen to your leader. When they go, no, fuck that, don't listen to him. And you sit there and say it, and you're an accomplice. You just let it happen. It's insane to me, and I think that he has been able to manipulate, you know, senators and congressmen, and now the medical establishment, and I think it's to America's detriment.
Now, what do you think about Joe Biden right now? And you know, because right now is either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on Biden?
Well, I can't wait to vote for Joe Biden. I'm gonna wait. I wouldn't risk my life, you know, going to the mall, but I would to vote for Joe Biden. I'm telling you, and this whole Tara Reid thing and whether he did what she said. America in 3 or 4 years ago, decided that sexual assault was not that sexual assault was not you could not be excluded from the presidency for being a sexual assaulter. They already said that. They already said you can grab all the pussy you want, you can do whatever you want. We don't care about that. So I don't care about it now. If you didn't care about it then, let's not make that a prerequisite for being the president right now. And I think ultimately, if you look, what America needs more than anything else is somebody who pays attention to science. And more than anything else, they need somebody who's empathic, somebody who gives a fuck that people are dying. Not one time has this dude said, I'm sorry. Not one of his hotels is open to take Corona. Nothing. Not one modicum of sympathy or, listen, in America right now, before we're done with this conversation, thousands of people would be dead, and this nation doesn't look like it's mourning at all. Right. It doesn't look like it gives a fuck at all.
I agree with you, DL, but I don't think none of them care. And the reason I don't think none of them care is because at the end of the day, all of them care about the bottom line, which is the economy. Now, how they present it may be different. Some of them might be straight up with you and be like, hey, motherfucker's gonna die. Others might be like, that's wrong, what's happening? But you know what, let's reopen.
But that's not too much different than us. Like literally, I care about the economy, but I know things got to get back to, we have to, it's unsustainable to have people warehoused or shelved in their homes. But ultimately, you have to have people, when you ask to lead people, you got to at least care about them.
All right.
Now, you know that if you take a drug, it can hurt. Even if you give a vaccine out, or you issue a drug, it for some people that drug may be detrimental. It may cause them harm, but it doesn't mean you don't try to do the best you can for as many people as you can. Who has he done the best for? Literally, who does he care about?
Rich
who
people.
Has he ever? You never went. He doesn't even care about his own people. Literally, he doesn't. He'll sacrifice them. So you literally have somebody every day. People are dying, and all he talks about is when he did the Lincoln, the interview in front of Lincoln, motherfucker, you talking about how bad it was in front of a motherfucker that got shot.
Got his head blown off.
Got shot. But it's
in
America,
DL, with all that being said, what do you think about people discussing, quote, holding your vote hostage because they want to make sure that
don't say people, Diddy.
But there's a lot of people that are agreeing with that. So people are saying that.
And a lot of people agree to anything. There was a lot of, if somebody said they were Jesus, thousands of people would take up the cause. So that's stupid, but it's dumb. Black people are dying from this. Black people. So maybe, and Puffy's statement was irresponsible and deadly. I'll tell you this. Black people are dying disproportionately from this. We are. Us, our grandfathers, our mothers, our fathers. So maybe what we get right away is somebody who isn't unconcerned that we are dying. Maybe we get to fucking survive. How about that? How about take that? How about we survive? How about we pick somebody that we're dying by the dozens and nobody gives a fuck about it? How about that? How about we survive and pick somebody who at least will pretend to give a fuck?
I have to respectfully disagree with you, DL. I don't think there's nothing irresponsible about demanding something for your vote, because let's be clear, Black people aren't dying because of coronavirus. Black people are dying because of systemic racism. The underlying conditions that systemic racism that America has laid down for decades and decades and decades that nobody from any government, any particular party has helped us with. All they've done is contribute to the systemic racism that exists in the Black and brown community. So it don't matter if it's coronavirus, cancer, diabetes, whatever the next disease is gonna be, we're gonna always be vulnerable until we change that.
And you know what we need to change? Participation. More people didn't vote than did. More people didn't vote than did. And maybe what we need to ask, and if you're gonna make an ask, what is it we all collectively want? You can say, I got to get something for my vote, but your something, there should be at least collectively things that we can all agree on. Well, if your ask is different than my ask, then neither one of us get quite what we want. Then we say, I won't participate. Listen, us not participating is the best thing in the world, and it contributes to what we go through right now.
You have to participate regardless.
Matter in terms of the resources that are allocated matters now. So even if we are poor and we're in the situation we're in, our educational situation, the prison system is as much a lack of participation on our part and showing up on our part as any other factors that we have to deal with. We already know they don't want us to do it. But to say to me that I'm just gonna sit there and nobody's doing anything, so I'll just sit here. You know, I'm in a movie called The Edge. He said that most people die of shame, and that's inactivity. And us doing anything, us doing nothing is the proper solution. I don't agree. I think that's wrong.
I agree with you, but I would say this though. You know, you look at it like this. I don't want people to feel like, well, the blacks will vote for me because I'm better than Trump. That's
Sure.
not a reason to
Absolutely.
vote for
That's-
somebody.
that-
You know what I mean? And that's my only fear. Like, I feel like when we put that pressure on Joe Biden a little bit, then all of a sudden he did a lift your every
He
voice.
came with the black agenda. The very
You know what I mean?
next week, he
And I
came with
feel
the
like
black
we
agenda.
have
What
to
is it? What is the
continue to
black
put
agenda
pressure
that
on
we can
people
all
to
agree
make
on?
sure we get what we want. Because now it's not. We're not just voting for you because we don't want to vote for Trump. We want to vote for you because we feel like you're going to do something for our people.
What do we want?
Our community.
What do we want? Collectively, what do we want? What is the black agenda? Because
I would like to see some form of economic justice. You know what I'm saying? We know this country's never going to give us reparations, but it can be some type of equity plan. It could be some type of equity plan that we put money into these poor and disenfranchised communities to make the schools better, to make the housing better, you know, to make the hospitals better, to give people access to health care.
That's a level of specificity. I think proper and adequate education for all of our children. I think that our women, that we shouldn't have inadequate health care. I think those are asks, but just to say in a nebulous way that you got to give me something, it's so nebulous. It's like a woman telling you, make me happy without giving you any guideline.
Right.
You know you got to eat that pussy, DL.
right. Happy.
Goodness. So like, even if you look at the pandemic, let's be honest, right? There's some people that have saliva coming out their mouth because they know how much money they're gonna make. If you have money, you rich, them white people, they're making millions and billions off this pandemic. But it's us that have the small businesses that are never open again. That is us that can never pay our mortgage and not be able to, or lose our mortgage and lose our cars and not be able to go to school because we can't afford it. So how do we help ourselves? That's what I want to know. We gotta help our own.
That is the specificity that will help us. But just saying, I'm not doing this till you do this thing, you got to ask them for what. A quiet mouth don't get fed. Now, what you fill that mouth with is what we're arguing about. Listen, you're absolutely right. When it's amazing that the very people who are now essential workers are the very motherfuckers we was trying to send off. Like, look at the people who are dying. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Look, it's disgraceful when I watch them point a camera at 1,000 kids, children who stand in front of Michael Jordan to get Michael Jordan at the mall. What about the people who open the fucking mall? What about the people because we put child-proof caps on medicine just for dumbass kids. But when I watch the Vice President of the United States walk around with a guy without a mask on, and then so children do what they respond to. I just don't understand how we'll point. You'll arrest people for not social distancing, but you won't arrest 2 white men that slaughtered a black man. All these are reasonable asks, but to say unless you do this for me without a level of specificity is a nebulous thing. I don't understand that. Need their ass that we should all, as black and brown people, be able to agree on.
I agree with that. I think that, you know, what Diddy did wrong. Well, what he did wrong was he said a black agenda, but he didn't specify what it was. If you're gonna ring that kind of alarm, you should have something ready to go right then and there. That I agree with.
Absolutely.
Now, Dia, one thing that I've been saying that I really pay attention to is who is also going to be working with you, who's going to be the vice president, who also you're appointing to positions of power that I know that I can trust. So who would you like to see as vice president?
I mean, I think there are any number of people, but ultimately it's a political calculation, because if you pick a senator and then that seat becomes vulnerable, then you erode some of your power. Like, so there are seats. First off, I wouldn't like to see Amy Klobuchar. That I think I wouldn't.
Me neither.
She makes white women go,
Yeah, and people gave Kamala hell for her record as a prosecutor. Go look at Klobuchar's record.
Right. So I think you're absolutely right. I liked Kamala as I had my questions with her, and I've actually got a chance to talk to her. I've had my questions about her. I think she would be excellent. I think Elizabeth Warren, despite the fact that I think she would be excellent, but that does pose a problem of having a vulnerable seat. I think people are talking about Stacey Abrams. Now, I don't know her governance. Like, I don't know what she has done in terms of governance, but the bottom line is, when you're making this more so than any other vice president vice presidential selection, people, it's kind of like a literal cosigner, like kind of like he needs somebody that galvanizes people. So this is probably the most important vice president selection. I would say that is one of the instances where we see what he thinks about the people who are supporting him. Like, we'll elementally see what he believes. But I think that there are a lot of, and I think that the one thing that is readily apparent in this whole thing, I don't think a woman should be vice president. I think a woman should be president. Because if you look at the nations who are led by women, less of them are dying. Their economy is less in shambles, and I think it's ultimately time to dispel the notion. Even the cities that women run, they're people. Because I think there's a modicum of empathy and common sense that men have seeded that women have not. And I think whoever he picks as vice president need to be fully capable and ready to be president day one if something happens.
That's right, because Joe Biden might die at any moment.
Yeah, he might. All of them look like, every one of the people running for president looks like they are under none of them should be outside. None of them should be outside. Especially with the coronavirus outbreak. They keep talking about oh my God.
It kills elderly people. Well, what are y'all?
Oh my God, motherfucker, everybody know in the Congress talking about go back to work. You better stay your old ass home. What the fuck wrong with you? And you know what's funny?
Agree with you too. Oh, go ahead, Dale.
Like all these people, like it's people with pre-existing conditions, and I'm like, I don't know if I have it, motherfucker. If you can't see your feet shouldn't hit the street. Stay your fat ass at home. The fuck wrong with you?
Hey, I agree with you too about the vice president pick. That's actually another one of my asks as well, because I'm like, I would like to see him have a black woman as a running mate. You know what I mean? And I would like. He already said that he would put a black woman in the Supreme Court. That means something to me. All of those things mean something to me because I don't trust Joe Biden.
Well, okay. Let's be clear. Clarence Thomas is a black man on the Supreme Court, so it has to be the kind of person who's had all the best indicator of what somebody will do is what they have done. So I think if you told me you were going to put, if you said I was going to put Barack Obama on the Supreme Court or somebody who I've seen, I've got a chance to see, but ultimately we are absolutely right to. People always. They allude to the civil rights, era. But in the civil rights era, the asks were very simple and we were collaborative. We wanted the same things. As black people, regardless of what political stripe or a side of the aisle you fall on, there are things we should ask for and that we need. Like you're talking about equity. All these people were in jail for selling marijuana and now they're getting rich. They should get a piece of that. They should get a piece of that. Our women shouldn't go to the hospital and die. Listen, there are more black children and brown children who be impacted and die from just the environmental rollbacks than corona. All these people, do you know anybody growing up that didn't have childhood asthma? You know why? Because of where we live. Our environments are so fucking dirty that we never have a chance. The reason we have all these other things, the diabetes, the heart disease, all that stuff, is because of our environments. And you tell me about how it isn't, we eat what we have to. These food deserts are a real thing. What you ingest, you are. So the fact that it costs more to get fresh food than it does a bucket of chicken should say something to our society. And those are all things that is a reasonable for any group of people who are concerned about their lineage to ask. I think those are reasonable asks, but just to say, I'll give me something. Nigga, that's a hustle.
I got you. and criminal justice reform. You know what I mean? When I read Black Agenda, I think his criminal justice reform is weak. And for somebody that, crafted the 86 crack laws and the 94 crime bill, and you was tough on crime, especially with black and brown people, I need to see some atonement for that.
Absolutely. See, those are all reasonable. Like when I watch, the one thing that our blues are so bad, our history in this country is so bad, that white people don't even have anybody to approximate that, so they co-opt our history. There's no approximate. There ain't no Italian dude that ever suffered bad as we can't even think of the white dude. Like white people, black people march because of injustice. Unarmed kid got killed. White people march because they want to go to the mall. Like
the mall.
Borrow
the New Jordan. Now, you mentioned Michael Jordan earlier. Now, did you see the documentary? And
I've been watching
about the fact that he is around his team. You like that around your team?
I think that his single-mindedness was something that we all, ultimately I think that everybody embodies some of that. But what I think that Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan primarily because of his great work ethic. But I don't think he would have been beloved in the social media era. Like when we know everything about you, when we know what you did, we know what you said. Part of any measure of greatness is what you're up against, and what he was up against was not the backdrop of social media. So I think what he did in terms of his single-mindedness, but I thought what he did to Scottie Pippen was bullshit. And if we'd have knew, like if you do your teammate, your supposed ace like that, where you're not supportive of him, people would have a different estimation of that. They'd be like, hey nigga, that's out of pocket. So I think he was a great athlete, and I think that you have to have. He was a great athlete, a less desirable human being to me. I thought he was a spectacular.
I didn't like how they were tiptoeing around race. On the episode when they was why they were attacking Michael Jordan. Like, y'all know good and well he wasn't came out no gambling. That was a powerful black man. That's what they do to you. They take you down.
Right. But you can't expect people to involve that when that's never been your conversation, man. Like he also wants the Republicans buy tennis. You have to, like, if you want somebody to get your back, you got to get theirs sometime too. You got to have, you got to be involved in the struggles that matter to other people so they'll be involved in your struggles. You can't just, everything can't be about you. And I think that that's what's going on. But I tell you what, I've been watching some great I've been watching spectacular documentaries. Like I was with John Coltrane and then Lee Morgan, and it's some dope thing. And I watched Tiger King. Let me tell you something. When I learned from that is if you pet a tiger long enough, eventually you're gonna want to fuck a dude. That's what I've learned from that.
What? Stand that.
That's all you got from that?
Yes. Motherfucker, I threw out my Detroit Tigers hat. Are you fucking around? I can't have it.
Oh man, DL, you are crazy, man. I was gonna say to you, DL. I was gonna say, what are you gonna do without stand up for the next few months? How are you gonna stay sharp?
Well, you know, I get to do the radio every day, but this shit like literally writes itself. Like I watched I was watching Jerome Adams, who is another, like that whole Surgeon General dude. Because the one thing that I hate is every time something happens, even though there's a international pandemic raging, every time something happens to black people, it's always our fault. Like it's our fault. Like everybody else is dying, but you niggas did it to yourself. When that dude said he started drinking, smoking, and alcohol, I'm like, motherfucker, you can't make me stay home and tell me I can't drink and smoke and do drugs. You can have what? Look, if I'm gonna stay home, either you gonna have a murderer or an alcoholic. Which one you want? I can't give you all of them, man. But it's been hard to. But I'm learning. Look, I baked cookies last night.
You did?
Regular cookies or weed cookies?
I've been cooking for my old lady. Yeah, for sure. She might
so
not
when
make
is the
it,
last
but,
time you've been home for this long of a period of time, DL?
Never. I was just telling her that last night. I'm like, I'm waking up with the same woman. What kind of thing is this? Who does this?
Stop it.
You better stop.
I know
Get your ass in trouble.
Listen,
I don't have to tell nobody to shut up so I can answer the phone. This is crazy.
DL, cut it out. We don't do that. Black men don't cheat. Come on. Stop now.
I know she's sick
of you, DL.
When they open this world back up, how long is it going to take you to go out and really start doing these shows again?
Hey man, I would listen. The last show I did was 3 days before they closed. I was in Texas in San Antonio 3 days before it closed down. I think ultimately it ain't gonna be entertainers do what they do, and I think that even when they open it up, there's a certain like you dig a gig and you want to be safe, but at a certain point to be what you were. Comfortable coming out. But for me, this is what I've been, pandemic or not. This is who I am, and so I can't wait to be on stage and say the things that I say and do the things I do. But I want more than anything else for people to feel a sense of safety. I think everybody wants normalcy. I think it's something that's a bridge too far. I don't know that we'll ever have that again because we have a memory of what things were like. But I think a level of safety where people feel more secure, and I think that despite political differences, there are people who actually seem to care about, like your governor seems to give a fuck. He seems to get, people are dying.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I think our governor seems to give a fuck. I think that Whitmer and Michigan seems to care. So at least having a caring, sober, thoughtful group of leaders, I think will contribute to people feeling safer, and then that contributes to getting back to a semblance of a life we recognize.
She might be vice president too, Governor Whitmer.
I think she'll let a redneck point a gun on her. She don't flinch. She's up. I could tell. I
wanted to say, DL, we all know you're naturally smart, you're naturally funny. That shit ain't on you, it's in you. But do you think when you get back on that stage, you'll be a little rusty at all?
Yeah. But I think that the one thing, that I'm confident in is how I feel about things. Like how I feel about things, like how people digest them and how they take it that's a mystery. But how I feel about things, I have no problem expressing how I feel about things. And ultimately that's just it for comedy. But I think comedy, the one thing that I see that is dangerous to me is people asking for permission to have a perspective. It's why I think you're spectacular at what you do, is because why do you need permission or consensus to be exactly who the fuck you are? Like, why do I need to have that? Why, the one thing that I'm an expert on is how I feel about things. And now it's almost like you have to check with the collective to make sure that you're thinking correctly. And I think if I thought like they thought, or you thought like that, but we wouldn't have the jobs we have.
I hate it. Oh, one more thing before we go, DL. Yeah, we was talking about this morning. Yesterday, everybody jumped on Tyra Banks for all that old shit she said on America's Next Top Model. To me, that is the dumbest shit in the world. And the reason I say that, it's like I was speeding on the highway. The speed limit used to be 70. Now it's 55. But you're sending me speeding tickets from 20 years ago. When the speed limit was 70, I was doing goddamn 70.
It's actually what they did with Eddie Murphy's Raw. That shit was funny. And then we gauge things by our prism of today. And if we're going to do that, let's go all the way back. Let's not just do things like that. But I think you can't, like, it's that prisoner of now bullshit. I think we are. It's the whole thing I was just speaking of. This collective, be who the fuck you are, feel how you feel. Obviously, there are going to be consequences. But this whole notion that we all have to think alike and we all have to think things are wrong. We all, like when I remember when Snoop said what he said about Gayle King. Mm-hmm. I didn't think he was calling everybody names. I didn't think it was everybody. I thought it was her. But there are people who hear that and go, I feel bad. Well, motherfucker, I wasn't talking to you. Like, why do I have to, it's when black people say, when a black dude feel, it makes us all look bad. No, that nigga look bad. I was at home.
But there is also nothing wrong for taking accountability. If you might feel like you look at it from somebody else's point of view and feel like, you know what, I get it. Because sometimes that does happen too.
Empathy is different than taking it on as a martyr. Empathy is different. Like, everybody loved Jesus. Wasn't nobody holding with that cross. Ain't nobody did that.
That's right.
So empathy is different. But now we have this whole mindset where we don't have, and it's a false one, because it, like, if you insult me and I feel like you called me a name, I don't then commensurately feel like you owe me money when you make money off of your creativity. So I just think individuals are individuals, and people say things that are out of line, and casting people off and judging them for what they've said in one moment is, even what Puff said, as angry as it made me, he's done a lot of great shit too. So it's not that, but I think you got to be who you are. And like, I just, and that's right. Why I dig this space. As dangerous and precarious as this is, I love this part of, like, I was telling my wife, I said, I am nervous, but I feel more comfortable in a situation like this than I almost ever had. Like, because
but I love the conversation though. See, I love the conversation. I love the girl with the gap tooth was mad and she felt like insecure back then. She can have the
Nina Parker.
Nina Parker. They weren't trying to cancel Tyra. They were just saying, yo, it made me feel a certain way. I remember being a kid when you could not have dreads. They wouldn't give you a job and this, that, and the other. And I remember parents was like, no, you got to cut your dreads. Now it's a different time. So somebody can come back and
if you got dreads in most places, you better run a 4-3 having them. That's not, that shit look nice flying in the wind. Like, I think people still have those things. There may be laws in place, but people still have those things. I just think if we're going to have conversations about the culture and about what it means, it has to be more expansive than the narrow prism we look at things from. Like, I think
absolutely,
and it's so narrow right now. Like, my new book, I wrote a book called Surrender White People. It's my terms for ending the war against Black people, and it's really all about, because when you write a treaty, it isn't about making people whole or even rectifying your wrong. It's about making them shut the fuck up. Like, here, take this casino, and I ain't got to hear from your ass anymore. Like, and when you look, there's really been no reconciliation amongst us and the country, and there's never been, to a large extent, reconciliation between men and women, between dark, this pandemic has done one thing for me. It has really made me see how important women's voices, and I'm not talking about the things you equate to women, but how important sane, sober, pragmatic, empathic leadership is. Like, look at the women who are leading, and look, the worst woman in the country to me is that bride in North Dakota who go, fuck it, you motherfuckers go back to the meat packing plant. We don't care. But other than that, most of the time, women are in charge, regardless of their political stripe. They're more pragmatic, and I think this thing has taken that veil off at least my eyes. I'm like, God damn, these broads are doing it. So maybe I'll listen to them.
But that's why we got to change systems, man. What you said just now, you know, and I've been having conversations with people that's way smarter than me, right? So when we talk about reparations, that's why the conversation has to evolve, because the white man could easily just give us a check and say, here. But but really what we've been through, there can never be a price on that. So let's have an equity plan. Let's have something that changes the actual system as opposed to getting a check.
Right. I think business loans are one. I think home ownership. I think there should be several categories. You know, in regards to how people can be made whole. Mm-hmm. There should be several categories, and you should be able to pick which best serve you.
Absolutely.
If it's going to college, if it's having a small business loan, if it's having a debt, a debt forgiven, or not having to pay taxes, or there's so many categories.
The marijuana business, like you said, having a piece of that. If you went to prison for something like that, and you're able to get some justice that way, some finances.
Yeah, it's so many way. It's ass that it is the ass that we need to be specific about. It's what we want, and what we want in one side. So we all agree that we should be repaid. We should be made whole in some way. How? We all agree that we should have a prison reform, but how? We all, because you know, it's one thing like Donald Trump. Everybody's talking about his prison reform, but he's putting the most conservative judges in places where they're going to keep doing the same. So in one hand, he looks, he let 3 niggas go, but then he put judges in place that will keep that system churning. So it's really a false equivalency. It's like we can have judges that are concerned about the public safety and something else, and we can have a system that isn't so connected to just our suffering. Like too many things are connected to Black and brown people suffering. Too many things. Like I hate to even advertise on our radio show. I hate to take things that kill my people. I just hate it. Like, how come it can't be something that builds us up? Everything around us is cannibals. Everything around us. We don't have the food we eat. Even the churches that we go to. Everything around us takes more than it gives. And it would be nice to create a system that where we're symbiotic, where it gave as much as it took.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, definitely thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. And
thank you, man.
If we learned one thing from you today, we learned get rid of all your Detroit Tiger gear and hats and everything. That's one thing.
Don't pet no goddamn tigers.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. It's a bumper sticker. Pet a tiger, fuck a dude. I'm telling you, it's the same thing.
I can't. You go too far.
Hey,
well,
no, he got a point though. Because after Mike Tyson, remember when Mike Tyson had that white tiger? Shortly after that, he made that statement. He said, "I'll fuck you till you love me." He told us. He said that to another man.
There you go. I think we should leave it right there.
Yeah. Well, Mike Tyson, he said
that's a symbiotic relationship.
And Dia, make sure you give our love to Jasmine, and shout out to your hairline. By the way, your hairline is amazing.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah.
Tell Charlamagne to take his hat off. Tell Charlamagne to take his hat off. I'll take mine off. Tell Charlamagne, take your hat off. Take your hat off, Charlamagne.
Hey, I don't follow the crowd.
Neither does your hair.
Neither does your hairline. All right. It's the Breakfast Club.
All of you, except for you, Ed.
It's D.L. Hughley. It's the Breakfast Club.
Take care.